think the first thing is pick a composition that can start fighting at level 1. That was the biggest problem with them in the last game. They think that the macro game is their weakest strength. So then we saw in the last game that they want to execute very early on. That means draft accordingly. And so anything that they can do to be able to win and be successful here on the race on BOE and skirmishing very early on, that's what I'd like to see from them. Consider the 1 through 9.
We saw them ban Cursed Hollow. They have the option. Do they want first pick or do they want map pick? They pick Battlefield of Eternity. This is a map that heavy team fighting will take place.
That's true, right? Game number 2, draft on the way. Currently, L5 leads 1-0 here up against the ANZ team in Nomia.
And L5 must be feeling really good. We talked about the weaknesses that they had in that draft. They exploited the problem that Nomia had in the early game, but right now they just need to show that in team fighting, once again, they can't be rivaled by the Australian team. And the first thing they do is try to eliminate a few of the macro opportunities that you have. The side soak severely diminished now by the Haka banned out right off the bat.
Nomia has asked themselves again, the Abathur, I feel like it's only going to continue to be a problem here in this tournament, especially when you see your opponent put any form of respect to those globals, like the Haka early into the draft. So now it's like, are we worried about the Uther, the Anubarak, or the Genji? And then you got Abathur on top of it. I personally would like to see Nomia just ban out the Abathur. That means they aren't afraid of any form of macro play, and then pick up those hyper-aggressive, like the Genji, Uther, and Anub on their next 2.
I'm afraid of this being that Abathur, but Uther is so strong right now, and Uther will be the first pick. Nomia has shown the Tassadar has been a prevalent hero in their drafts. I wonder if they're willing to commit to the Vala Ariel here, hope for the Tassadar later. It's something that they've run in the past. Tassadar we see has been, I think it's been at least in about 80% of their drafts. Obviously they didn't get it last game, but where do they value it on Battlefield of Eternity?
I think if they are going to value it, they have to commit to the Vala Ariel, this rotation. It would give them the early game pressure that I would like to see from them. It would work with, again, the maybe limited hero pools that some of these players have on this roster. But I don't know if I view that as the most optimal, even after seeing the skill gap difference here from game number 1.
And the reason I reference it is because they did go Vala Tas in the first part of their draft in a previous game that we had just this past weekend. So I think that it's definitely possible that they might feel that they have to, and then just fit whatever support they can get behind that.
And they also have to worry about the potential combos that exist together with the Uther here. So they go into the Vala and Tassadar. Again, that leaves for L5 still heavy dive comps if they want to go down that path. You can play the Genji with the Uther so that you have the Divine Shield and Dragon Blade combo that you can execute. So there's definitely a lot of potential for L5 to get one of these aggressive drafts. Even Rayman is still out there.
Regardless of what happened in those first 2 slots, Valor was, for them, I feel, an absolute, because of the amount of power it does have on this map, aside from the idea of the Holy Trinity, I would say. Yeah,
and again, it has that early game skirmishing that it feels like they need to have. They cannot consider the macro game, but I feel like that's a huge risk, with Nomia moving into this that easy on, because now L5 gets to decide how they want to manipulate the map and how they want to benefit their composition. They immediately go with, very standard and comfort picks here for them, and it's going to be the Li Ming and Tyrael.
I think Genji is about as good as ban as you can get right now for Nomia. Having the double invulnerability from Uther, from Tyrael, it's definitely something you don't want to face, as Caldor already said. Dragon Blade D-Shield is absolutely terrifying.
I wonder if this is going to be a Greyman ban coming up from the L5, just because it does work a little bit with the composition that they already have, and then also just the race on BOE. It's so impactful.
I don't know if they would run that. I think their backline is Vala Tassadar and then a double warrior setup or a double front line combo. So L5, I think, needs to focus on prioritizing that.
I would expect that too, and I could see that L5 would be potentially gambling to get it to Greyman themselves even.
I can see the risk into the gamble, but on a map like BOE, it's just, again, it's one of those things where I feel like it's a risk they're taking because they feel comfortable into Nomia.
The thing is that even if they do take the gamble, they've removed all invulnerability from their opponent's potential. They've removed D-Shield, they've removed Sanctification. So if they took the gamble of not banning it to hope to get it themselves, they could then just team fight and then really wreck that position, surely.
L5 has definitely done their homework. Their drafts right now are on point, focusing Nomia.
I mean, the one thing to theorize just a bit, in case that, for example, Nomia decides, okay, we have the Vala, we take a Grey main as well and play it with only frontliner, then you have the one risk. What happens if L5 loses, for example, a hero, and all of a sudden the Immortal gets bursted down?
Is this just a snap Abba Illy? The Arthas ban just alludes to an extremely offensive diver.
I mean, they could, but I still think they would go Grey main to help the Tyrion go forwards.
It could be the Grey main. It's just the Arthas indicates that it's more of a hyper carry commitment to me than anything. Or they're afraid of a very early shutdown onto structure to be able to win the game early through a Holy Trinity.
But if they go your path, which is Abba Illidan, sorry, I shouldn't really analyzing here, I'm just going off now. If they go into Grey main, at least they have the option of both teamfight and true race compared to Illidan, which isn't as fast, don't you think? It opens up options.
I wouldn't be surprised if L5 goes Falstad.
I mean, yeah.
I'm serious. Like,
but the last time we saw that from them was only when they had a double global.
That is, but they always tend to fall back on having some control. In the last game, they didn't need it. That's what surprised me is that
Cassia.
Oh, and
okay.
They're getting real weird.
Yeah, there's the Immortal damage. Not quite what was expected. Trick is going to be happy about it, though.
I suppose so, yeah.
And the Diva. Nice. So once again, the double front line, double support, and the Vala as the hyper carry in the back.
Battlefield of Eternity, Grey main wasn't even touched.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think that is showing that these teams are, at least L5 is obviously not showing everything. Like, I feel like that back half of that draft was like, these are decent picks in this direction, but after that left game, again, they have to be so ridiculously confident that no part of the draft could be like, oh, we lose here. It'd just be like, we're fine, just run anything, don't show anything, it better our odds.
I mean, think about what position they're in. We talked at the beginning of the show, they are in the loser bracket.
Yeah.
So they know they have to hide as much as they possibly can. This is the best chance they have against a weaker opponent to hide drafts. They play a draft in the first game that is objectively weaker than what their opponent draft. They still have the better control, though, in the team fights and the coordination. They win it on the back of this. So now going into the second game, they must be so confident that they're saying, whatever we do now, just on the back of our mechanics, we can win this, and we're not going to show any strategies before we face an opponent that we respect enough to pull them out.
I think the one redeeming quality I like most about Nomia's draft is simply that the swap into an Artanis stun into a Cassia fend is a devastating combo. Much like a Stitches hook, one of the things that you can do is you can simply dive into that. And if you get swapped, Nomia can use Diva, Q in, disrupt that dive, that potential blow up, especially when we talk about Li Ming blow up combo as well. I think that might be the one redeeming quality that can save them in those scary moments.
All right, well, I'm going to go for predictions once again, starting with you, Kaldor.
Well, with the blinds that they have against Vala and everything else that they have in the draft, the mechanics and game number one, go with L5 again.
Okay. Dreadnought?
Game number one said it all. It's L5.
L5. All right. Double L5s. Going for the number 3.
Well, we're going to be 3/5 of the way to L5.
All right, then. Fantastic stuff. L5 across the board here from our panel. Let's see what you guys think at chat in home. In home at chat. Whatever. It's going to be a little bit more lenient now. It's slightly swaying here as things continue on here in this draft. Looks like our chat wants to try and get some points back as they are currently last after the group stage. Well done, chat. Good job. It's time now to head into game number 2 here between L5 and Nomia. Nomia has some work to do if they want to topple the world champions.
Yes, they do, but chat still has faith, although it is still starting to lean a little bit more towards L5. They have faith as we head into our map number 2. It is going to be the Battlefield of Eternity.
And on the left side, representing Korea, once again, L5 in the blue. It's going to be Swoi on Uther, Noblesse on Tyrael, Nacho Chin on Li Ming, SCSC on Cassia, and Jongha on Artanis.
And on the right-hand side, it is Nomia. And playing for them, it is Arkada on Valor, John on Tassadar, Roba-Doba on Muradin, Vanilla on Ariel, and Fat94 Diva Online.
All right. Well, you know, I consider ourselves so fortunate to have the analysis broken down by such fine gentlemen. And I completely agree with everything they said, but Diva!
Yes, Diva.
First game I'm casting of Diva. Do love to see
Same,
that hero.
actually. It came out several times, and I missed all of them except for analysis. We do see Artanis dueling with Diva. That will take a while, but someone will eventually win that. But yeah, the Cassia is kind of interesting to see coming in here so early, but against Valor, if they are able to drop the good blinds and combine with Suppression Pulse, this could work really well.
Yeah, lots of blinds here against the semi-auto attack focus team in Nomia.
Oh, good detainment strike there onto the Cassia. SESE forced back to his team, but Robodoba takes a huge amount of damage from the Fend.
I want to see Nomia be mindful of the fact that their power in team fights lies in long, protracted fights. Uther's mana pool is their main advantage. Ariel doesn't have a mana pool. As long as Nomia stays alive, they will eventually win that fight. Uther will run out of mana, Ariel never does.
Nomia need to consistently trade damage as they attempt to. They get the first kill onto Cassia.
Very
but that's
nice.
exactly what they need to be doing here. Consistently poke until Uther runs down on mana and is either forced to be where they can start doing pressure, or their poke actually works in their favor and they pick up a kill like just happened.
Very well played by Nomia there. Getting that kill, despite Uther still having mana. And in the meantime, if we look at the health bars, Diva is 100% life and has taken Artanis down to less than half. He just used Fountain. Oh, Diva is not full life.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just shows the inside mech health by the looks of it. But like, that's exactly the point.
Yeah, the pilot is full health.
Exactly. Even when this mech dies, Diva still pops out in full health, where she can just poke the Immortal from range to get her mech back. Don't think we've seen her played on this map yet, but it's cool to see. The zoning potential here could be huge.
I think it's one of Diva's best maps, but we're going to have to wait and see if they can leverage that power. Now going for Artanis. Artanis doesn't have any escapes. He gets taken out almost entirely.
He's tanking through, pulling back to the rest of his team. Li Ming consistently poking damage, but L5 being forced to retreat. Nomia with the efficient defense there.
Nice initial damage done here by L5, and the extraction of Private Artanis has been successful. He's now being stationed at a new, more docile post in the bottom lane, where he can think about everything that just happened. XP lead for Nomia with that first takedown, and they're looking at level 4. If they can side soak enough to get level 4, they should be able to do a brief attack on the enemy Immortal or to look for a fight. Level 4 has been reached.
Castadar's on his way up from bot lane. He's poking down onto Artanis a bit. Diva moving down as well. Still a little bit slower than most heroes, but boosting in with that Nitros. Drops the mech. Completely splitting the team here. Can they take down Artanis? Yes, they do! Artanis is removed from the fight. Nomia with the second kill.
Key move there by Robodoba, getting the Stormbolt on Artanis and getting the Diva explosion to have full value. It nearly looked like everyone was going to be getting away.
They're still losing the Immortal, though. It's half health of the Nomia Immortal compared to full health of the L5 Immortal. But L5 finally, with those 2 kills and the XP disadvantage, are being forced back. But Nomia have to stay and defend the Immortal because it's so low on health. Li Ming and Cassia are going to be able to poke this down forever.
A sizable mistake here by Nomia as they go for the 5-man attack at the mid gate. And they lose the side soak in the same time.
Arkada gets swapped. He gets healed up, though, tanking his way through. They turn the damage onto Jongha again. Fat94 tanking through, but the Immortal is taking damage here. Nomia need to move on to this as Li Ming is working it down.
2 takedowns, but not enough of an experience lead to show for, actually, by Nomia, as they have neglected side soak almost entirely. And now they continue to try and defend, but without side soak.
He gets stunned by the Immortal. Bit of a miss micro there as Noblesse is focused out by Ariel, but he's going to get... Oh my god, he almost got away. Finally kicked off though. Swoy also low. Elvis team gets detainment strike. He's taken down too. It's 4 kills to 0, Grubby, but the Immortal is dropped completely full shield.
As is the pilot. Equal XP. Immortal goes to L5 despite looking like they're on the back foot. They are actually coming out ahead here. And Nomia send 4 people to the top, which means no one is soaking experience. Diva's gonna boost there, but she'll be late. And so L5 actually has a lead.
They've lost so many kills, but they're winning the game pretty hard, actually. Like you said, they're soaking the lanes. They've got the Immortal. There's a huge swap, but it's onto Muradin, who moves around and turn it around. Onto Jongha. He gets healed. The armor is dropped, and Jongha is gonna escape. Nice moves there by Swoy.
In the end, Jongha gets the swap on an irrelevant target, but Nomia gets greedy for the kill. They lose damage time on the Immortal, and now they get deleted. Ariel
Yep.
gets deleted. It's a 5-man grouping here by L5. We've seen so many of them. They get value. They get the kills when they group as 5. And that is the difference here. With Nomia at the mid gate and L5 here, they make it count. L5 looking so on point.
D.Va has been left alone, though. She's going to be able to get at least a little bit of XP for her team, but the Immortal already dead. This push from L5 is basically over. When we now see Muradin attempting to see if he can force someone out of position, but Noblesse already in retreat. He's taking a lot of damage, though.
I think he's reeling Robodoba in. He could have held Druins Mighted out anytime, but he wanted to see if Robodoba gets greedy.
So, level 7 for D.Va, we have Aggression Matrix, the reduced cooldown on Defense Matrix when it blocks hero basic attacks. That could be huge at reducing the damage output of Artanis and Cassia.
And now Nomia has to find a way to close the experience gap. Takedowns they've been getting. This is a good sign for them. But they have fallen behind in XP. Yeah. Level 10 race is on. This could be big. They're starting to do their big 4-man push again. And L5 is late with the rotation. They're coming here to defend, but there's already massive value. Two towers gonna be going down.
Eventually, there we go. Psystorm is dropped. Lots of damage onto Noblesse. Once again, armor having to be used. Swoy with that heal, able to keep him alive. There's the stun onto Tyrael, trying to focus him down here. The shield keeping him alive as they turn around, trying to take down Muradin. Robodoba dropped to half health, but Ariel consistently on point with those heals.
And the mech was used to save himself, presumably. That's never how you want to be using it. We've seen D.Va players hold on to that mech explosion even throughout many opportunities, just waiting for that perfect moment. So that is a nice reset. Jongha earned that for his team. Nomia now starting to attack. They know they will not win the race of experience, so they move aggressively.
They do. There's a swap onto Ariel, but she's able to pull back to her team. The defense matrix keeping everyone sedated, at least for a little bit. Valor dropping crazy damage onto Noblesse, but the blind preventing the kill here. Now it's Robodoba under a bit of duress, but he is able to pull back because Noblesse is too low on health.
Arcaner is just going crazy. He's got a lot of health and mana still, and he's zoning everyone out. That's what Nomia needs. They're starting to move in. On the Immortal here, seeing what they can do about that.
D.Va's trying to soak him to level 10, soaking in the bot lane, while we see Nomia consistently poke. As long as they don't get caught, this will work in their favor, as currently no one is soaking for L5, because Tyrael is on the way back from base as he had to be.
And I think Nomia has done about as much damage on the Immortal as they need to, in order to, even if they lose this halftime trade, they can out-soak the two lanes, but they actually go for the team fight.
Here comes D.Va pushing it in, trying to put some harassment onto SCSC and at least zone him out. Tyrael's in the backline, but he's being completely ignored. Here comes the mech, trying to zone them away from their Immortals so that they can fight outside. D.Va back into the mech as Tyrael is focused down.
Nacho
Jin also barely surviving SCSC under duress as well. The first kill, though, is onto Valor.
It's a complete mayhem and chaos. Everyone breaking down in their separate constituents. It looks like Nomia was going to be coming out on top, but...
Oh, the lightning ball, no! It bounces so many times. Vanilla gets disintegrated as well. It is just D.Va as the survivor in the base here. But that was a decent attempt by Nomia, but L5, perfect splitting and perfect isolation of targets.
Nomia used the D.Va mech explosion to get the zoning and the damage on the Immortal. But instead of seeing and recognizing that it will not hit any of L5's heroes and using that time to DPS the Immortal, they overcommitted to a chase fight where everyone went their separate ways and L5 came out on top. The mobility here by Tyrael, Uther babysitting Li Ming, it was all enough for L5 to come out on top. And I feel like Nomia misjudged the situation. They made the wrong decision and now they are up against another Immortal.
Crystal Aegis, Strafe, Avatar, Bunny Hop, and Archon from Nomia. We've already seen pretty much all the heroics. Oh, Artanis flips himself behind the gate here, taking some damage. The Aegis used onto Ariel to keep her alive. She's trying to pull back. Fat drops the mech to zone away. Everyone from Nomia survives.
That's a nice save there by Nomia. They used all their heroics.
Oh, they want Noblesse, but they weren't able to get the push into the base there. We're seeing Valor trying to play very far back. They get Noblesse here. The Immortal already taken out as well. Arcana does take the full Tyrael explosion, but he's able to survive. Ariel needs some energy, though. Oh, that was close.
That was very close. Nomia here.
They got Uther. Here comes Artanis.
Oh,
flips Vanilla, who's being taken down. The shield dropped to keep him alive, but it doesn't matter. Arcana dropped as well. The disintegrate from Li Ming, getting so much value. Now it is Fat94 in outside of mech form. He is not in a good situation. Dodges the missile.
Pilot
He's trying
requesting
to micro.
immediate evac. Air Force requested. Nope. Pilot goes down completely. Jongha completely turned that fight around with the swap.
That was a perfect swap. Even the shield from Tassadar could not save Ariel there.
Oh.
And now we're seeing an attempted turnaround. Suppression Pulse, though, denying so much of the damage as Jongha, like we said before, it doesn't have a huge amount of escape, but doesn't need it. The tankiness able to get him through.
Jongha has just been playing out of his mind, getting the swaps on Ariel time after time. Nomia needs to be careful for that. They have the double support comp, so they are liable to group a lot to protect each other. And so swaps are easier to hit. Very nice detainment strike there on Artanis.
He's getting hit by Strafe, actually. He tried to go to a minion, but slightly misclicked, very nearly taken down. But he does survive. He's going to attempt to be back unless Muradin wants to go super aggressively for the start. Instead, he goes for Tyrael, who jukes it hard. Nicely done, no less.
Level 12 versus level 13 and a half. And Artanis now is an absolute monster against the Immortal. He has picked up triple strike at level 13. 3 hits with amateur opponent
and
on the
Immortal
Immortal.
as well. He has just gone all in on this Immortal damage. Super cool to see. But it does also, with the follow through and the triple strike, give him some burst damage on whichever hero he ends up swapping.
The teams now need to decide. Do they side so kill the Fallen Bruisers, or do they go straight for the Immortal? Nomia looks aggressive, missed the Stormbolt. And as such, they can't fight for a few seconds. At least they can't hope for any kills.
Yeah, Immortal Poke begins from Nomia, doing some damage as Noblesse into the backline. John is quite low. The energy, there we go. There's the energy they wanted, coming in from that multi-shot of Valor. Noblesse, once again, playing aggressively, far forward, trying to find an opportunity. Strafe dropped very early here.
And the D.Va mech explosion was at least considered, but wasn't used yet. A nice damage by Nomia on the Immortal, but I feel like L5 is going for the halftime. They killed the Fallen Bruiser. Artanis was not used to attack the Immortal, and this is just so tactical by L5. They're willing to sacrifice 50% to get Bruiser value at the bottom, and now they say, this is our time.
Everyone from Nomia going back to Fountain, except Roba-Doba, who is attempting to hold the line here at the Immortal, which does take over a third of its hit points to try and survive. Here's the mech zoning out. Bunny Hop not used. The suppression pulse gets crazy value as the sanctification. Here's the Bunny Hop trying to get someone out of position. Noblesse is zoning out Vanilla though, and Arcanine not able to get the damage he wants. They turn onto Noblesse, who's able to get out. Now it's Roba-Doba who's isolated.
Noblesse played like a freaking god there. He single-handedly occupied Vala, Ariel, and Tassadar, so there could not be follow-up to the Bunny Hop.
Now it's Jongha getting focused as Fat92 delays the support, and they're able to guarantee the kill. Here comes the Strafe trying to get HGC. They get him. Here comes the Lightning Ball doing good damage. They want Swoy as well. They take him down. It is Li Ming and Tyrael, the survivors, as Nomia moves to the Immortal.
Nomia, they did it. D.Va this time doing the same job that Noblesse did in the previous fight. And Fat94 was able to use D.Va to not only zone out and soak up all the damage that L5 was looking to do to try and save Artanis there. Jongha, who was isolated away. But look at that defensive matrix. Everyone inside that shield is doing less damage. Only 25% of their total, and so the follow-up wasn't there. Artanis got singled out, and Nomia win their first Punisher, the first Immortal of this map.
A dream move by Fat94 there as he begins moving forward with the rest of his team.
And he's got energy again for the next explosion.
He does. He is ready for this. He's moving onwards. They take down the minion wave. The fort is almost guaranteed to drop here at this stage. This Immortal, too tough to deal with.
I love what Fat94 is doing here. He's going to the side and says, focus me. And he knows. Oh, there we go.
Mech. Can they get anyone on the right side of it? Looks like not, but they do still do a good amount of damage, and the mech is reset immediately.
Great heal by Swoy, though. He managed to heal Artanis as the explosion was about to hit, using the armor element and reducing that damage. And it was okay for L5. They only lost some damage on the tower. It could have been even more scary.
Fat popped out the mech here, has to pull back. Artanis trying to move in as well to get onto Muradin. They've got Ariel out of position. She is taken down here. Could this be a mistake by Nomia? They begin to pull back. Looks like they will be let to leave here, but that's still a kill going over to L5 at the cost of their front wall.
Very smart pullback here by Nomia. They could try to turn it around, but when you're going up against Uther and Tyrael, they have a trait that has value beyond the grave. Tyrael explodes, Uther can do extra healing. And so Nomia, very wisely, they pull back. They recognize we've done what we can here. We just got our first Immortal, things have been looking up, and we're almost at level 16. They get the one death again by a beautiful swap by Zhonghao, who has just been insane. And they got a lot of keep damage. That keep is down to 30% life. If Nomia ever gets another takedown, they can go and finish that off.
Beacon of Light by Uther so that he's able to do more self-healing, keeping himself alive while he heals his team.
I'm very surprised by that choice. Benediction being the meta choice here. Uther expecting to do a lot of front lining, taking a lot of damage.
Oh, here comes D.Va, but she gets stunned up. The money up is completely denied, only getting one bounce there. There's the swap. Uther, Muradin getting completely jumped, but it is going to be D.Va taken out, then followed by Tassadar. Wow, this is just a massacre by L5. They move forward onto Vanilla. Robodoba is so low, he finally gets his trait popped. Tyrael wants it, there's the smite preventing the self-heal. Robodoba getting the fountain, he's gonna survive, but this keep might not.
If the swap hits, he's dead.
There's the juke.
Okay, can Robodoba, can he on his own defend for 18 seconds? I'm not sure.
He's got a lot of health back. He's got a lot of health back, and he has Avatar. He might be able to attack through this. Needs to do everything he can. Throw the attack speed. Drops the thunder. The lightning, ball lightning doing so much. Sanctification, keeping them alive as the core begins to go down. 5 seconds for D.Va, but it might not be enough. Muradin doing everything he can, but the healing is too good. Here comes D.Va. The mech is dropped self-destruct, but the core is gone, and that is GG. And L5 take game number 2. Wow, that was a lot closer again. Nomia stepping it up every single game, and this is a best of 5. They seriously have a good chance if they keep playing like this.
Yeah, Nomia played a lot better than in last game. They really were able to leverage that D.Va value to make it close, but on the cusp, on the summit of their comeback, L5 said no thank you. Not possible. We are still going to be going to run away with this game. And it all came down to that fight there at the bottom, where D.Va's mech exploded before he was able to detonate it. That changed everything. It pulled out the Crystal Aegis on D.Va's pilot. It removed the zoning of the D.Va mech. And then the amazing Holy Ground by Noblesse said, no, there is no way out of this death trap. You have overstepped your boundaries.
Yeah, excellent moves and an excellent finish by L5. We're going to send you over to our analysis desk to talk about it and to talk about the next game coming up.
That's right, 2-0 currently for L5. Looking good there in that game. It wasn't without its slight hiccups here and there, as Nomia was able to make more of a meal of that one than they certainly did of game number 1.
Yeah, you have to give the Australians, I feel, a lot of credit. They definitely put up a fight here. They know about the underdog position, but they are fighting for every inch of the map. And they put up a fantastic show in game number 2.
Yeah, they did. It was a lot more competitive than I expected it to be, especially with the confidence it felt like L5 was in fact showing into the draft, but maybe that, had a little bit to play as well with why it was so close there for Nomia. But either way, their play has definitely had such a colossal rise. It just feels like L5 is going to be the beginning of the end.
Jayhao, break down one of the key moments for us.
Yeah, and it actually really comes down to that last team fight. It's a two-pronged approach, basically, when you look at the side. If we just pause here, okay? So here's the thing. You've got Robodoba and you've got Fat94. 2 excellent zone control heroes. Now, what happens, though, when they're not together and you look at this approach? As we move it forward, there's going to be the contention over the camp. That's where this whole thing starts. So Fat94 wants to find a way to flank, and Muradin, the ever-so-tanky hero, wants to stay. Now, pause immediately. Now, the thing about it is that obviously you're already going to have the holy ground. So Nomia has to know that they have this at going up against them ahead of time, and they have this split approach. And the biggest concentration is going to be on the Fat94, because as we move forward here just so slowly, you're going to see he gets stunned and then he gets blown up, and that's where it all starts. Now, your whole plan. We pause here. Your whole plan now is completely different. You can actually see the phase prism. So that was actually a really good Crystal Aegis there. The ever hint of the phase prism there. But the problem that you run into now is simply the fact that you're on the retreat. Vanilla, everybody is on full retreat. You have to know going into that fight you're going against Tyrael. And the reason I say Tyrael is because we're going to move forward, because you're still going to have Tyrael. Now walk at the Eldruins. It goes and locks in 3 members of Nomia, and when you are trapped into that type of just choke point, it's going to be extremely difficult to get out of there. And so going into that fight, it seemed like Nomia didn't quite have the approach that I think that they needed. They had the 2-pronged split collapse approach, but I think that the Tyrael factor was just the ultimate, X factor when it got into that fight, that it just made it way too difficult to overcome.
I would actually argue that this was a really good example of Nomia overreaching a bit, since they should never fight in that spot in the first place. At this point, when you're going up against the Tannis with the blinds, you're going up against Cassia, who says, well, we fight here, well, thank you very much, everybody's clumped up, you have the Tyrael too with the Holy Ground. You can't go into that death trap and fight there. So they felt, I believe, that they were all of a sudden saying, hey guys, we are fighting with the Koreans on the same level. We have 16 versus 16, and then they just went in a bit too deep instead of just saying, let's give this one up. We can fight in 20 seconds. We don't have to fight in that choke point.
I think it's also a really good representation of how we can have the difference between game number 1 and 2 is that the D.Va looks for the flank, and Australia, New Zealand is so dominant with the D.Va, expected to be able to get the explosion, the self-destruct. And immediately you see the Korean teams hyper-focus on it, and it just shows that what you could get away with in ANZ, Korea very much wouldn't, right? That all the rules, as long as the team is on the same page and works very well together, it can really make standard picks look poor.
All right, well, we are going to a break, boys, and when we are back, we will find out, going into game number 3, if Nomia can make the recovery or if L5 goes all the way with the 3-0.